Children are the greatest gift to man, the greatest. They are out of innocence. Uh, we have a lot to learn from every child, and that lot to learn is just one simple thing: the act of forgiveness. And you cannot separate forgiveness from imagination. You cannot. Try it. If somebody offends you and you choose to forgive the person, how did you come about forgiving that person? Did you imagine a story that feels uh, feels more comfortable for you? Is that what you did? As I'm talking about somebody who offended you and you truly forgive the person, did you come up with a storyline, a thought, such that if that thought or the storyline is true, then you it will justify what the person did, and you allow the person go scot free from your heart because you've truly forgiven. And that's what children do all the time. They are in this Children are in this position of active imagination, and that's why they are able to forgive easily. They let go, or they don't hold things at heart. But a child must lose his innocence if it's going to have a mind of its own. Yeah. But when the child loses his innocence in the quest of getting a mind of its own, the collective forgets to reintroduce the innocence of the art. So, and the collective does not teach anybody that the mind is a robotic, uh, is a programmable robot. And if you are not doing the programming, then you can be certain that something else is doing the programming, because the mind cannot be a vacuum. Something must go on there. So are you the one in control, or the TV is the one in control, or your family and friends, or your workplace, your employer, or maybe your boyfriend or your girlfriend? Now that you have a mind of your own, what that means is that you know your left hand from your right. You know when to go, you know when to stop. You now need to bring back the innocence of the heart, the childlike heart. You have to restore it back to yourself. The collective is not going to do that for you, because the collective will be at a loss if you return back to your heart. It will lose a worker, a battery. Yeah. So to come back to your heart is also the act of forgiveness. Is also the act of active imagination. To imagine, just as the wind, the, the, the movement of the wind. You can't say, okay, this wind that is coming now, some is going to, this wind is going to be here, then this one is going to be here, then this one is going to turn around here. No, there's nothing like that. So just as no one is there to tell where the wind is coming from and where it's going to, then there is no one in here except you to determine where you will be psychologically. the position you will be in psychologically. Nobody can dictate that for you. Although if your heart is hardened and your love has waxed cold, you believe that people can tell you how to be. People have power over you. People can control you and tell you out where you are going to be psychologically right now. The events in the outside world can determine where you'll be psychologically. But if you develop your art, you return back to art. What does that mean? It's very simple. You begin to actively use your imagination. The society, the collective tells you that as you are growing up, the collective subconsciously tell you to drop your imagination in favor of memory because uh, you have to be realistic. You have to uh, you have to be logical. But memory and logic are not friends. The friend of memory is the ego or the five senses, sense perception. That's the friend of memory. The friend of logic is imagination. You cannot separate logic from imagining. It can't work. But the ego or memory will trick you into thinking that it's possible to separate logic from imagination. And millions and billions of humans live their life eating from the fruit of memory, eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But you become a child when you find your imagination. You you find it was buried. Then upon investigation, you go back to it. You return to your imagination. Now, in your imagination, you are as free as the wind. You can be wherever you want to be. You can do whatsoever you want to do. You can be whosoever you want to be without looking for evidence. Have you seen a child play? Okay, most of the children that are exposed to this world that we are in right now don't have the opportunity to play the way we played when we were children because they have phones and tabs and TV, big wide TV for proper indoctrination. But be a child. If you begin to use your imagination actively, you might not see any results in today or tomorrow or next tomorrow or 6 months from now. The same way that if you decide to start playing the keyboard, maybe you don't know how to play the keyboard and you start learning, you might not see any serious um, evidence that you are learning how to play the keyboard in 2 days time, you know. But you keep at it. Why can you keep up? What gives you the assurance that you can keep at using your imagination? That the thing that gives you that assurance is logic, because it is logical. It is an it is something that you analyze and you come to the conclusion that this is logical. And if you've not come to that conclusion yet, that's okay. I'm here for you. Well, you will need to watch more of my videos to understand all these concepts. You know. But take baby steps. Use your imagination lovingly on behalf of others. Don't hear anything that you would not want anybody to hear about you. Don't hear it. somebody comes to you and gives you bad news, you don't have to hear it. This is a dream. Okay, so I'll continue in the next video. I hope this helps.